Week 5 is now in the books, which means that we are in a very critical position for your fantasy rosters. And in this video, we are going over some waiver wire options that could make all the difference for you turning the tide or even bolstering up as we get along into the fantasy season. And the first player we're going to be going over is going to be either Kamani Vidal or Hassan Haskins from the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, it was very unfortunate to hear the news yesterday on Monday that we were going to lose Ryan Hampton for at least 4 games because he was placed on the IR by the Chargers with an ankle injury. Now, what was frustrating is that we were just seeing Ryan Hampton finally come out. He was coming off of 2 back-to-back performances prior to week 5 where he had 20+ performances in PPR formats, but now we have to put that on pause because he unfortunately is suffering that ankle injury. But with that, you now have Vidal as well as Haskins, who are more than likely going to be very available and top priority adds this week on the waiver wire. Both of these guys had 14 snaps in week 5, didn't rush. They both actually rushed under 20 yards, but what makes them intriguing is, of course, the workload that they're looking to actually now inherit. Now, the schedule is going to open up for the Chargers a little bit. They are going up against the Miami Dolphins in week 6, who just gave up over 200 scrimmage yards to Rico Dowdle. This team overall has allowed the 5th most points to opposing RBs. Then, of course, you'll be seeing a very stingy Indianapolis Colts defense in week 7. And then you'll see a middle-of-the-pack defense versus Minnesota. And I believe that Vidal or even Haskins, depending on who is going to be the one that will be getting all the carries here, are both worth stashes for the time being until, of course, they mention who will be the #1 starter. But for now, I will target either of these guys with at least 15 to 20% of your fab, considering that these guys are going to be highly coveted in the waiver wire this week going into week 6. A second player that I'm going to be mentioning here is going to be Michael Carter for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I know all the talk has been about Mario DeMarco's unfortunate fumble at the goal line, but Michael Carter was very solid in week 5, had 18 carries, 51 yards, also had a rushing touchdown, plus he had 5 receptions on 5 targets for 22 yards, securing a very solid floor here. And I believe that because of the DeMarco fumble, he has fumbled at least the starting job for week 6. But I will say this though, temper expectations because the Cardinals are going up against a very stingy Indianapolis Colts defense that has not given up too much to opposing running backs. However, of course, above anything else, I know that even with Carter being the RB1 in this offense, he also did outsnap DeMarco's 28% as well as Bam Knight's 16% with a 58% snap target percentage on week 5. So I believe that going forward, Michael Carter is going to be the RB1 for now until, of course, we see something change in the meantime for that Arizona Cardinals offense. The next player that you are going to be targeting is going to be running back Rico Dowdle for the Carolina Panthers. He currently is rostered in 58.8% of ESPN leagues, so he more than likely wouldn't be available for you. However, if he is, definitely worth adding him, considering that Chuba Hubbard was someone that wasn't participating in practice all week leading up to week 5, and of course was scratched out of the lineup on Saturday. And with the great performance that Rico Dowdle had, I see no reason why Carolina should rush Chuba Hubbard back. However, with that being the case though, I think even if Hubbard is back in week 6, Rico Dowdle is still worth a stash, considering that he has shown that he can be a more than worthy handcuff for this offense. He rushed for 23 carries, had 206 total yards and 1 touchdown, also had a few yards in the receiving game for a total of 230+ scrimmage yards for him as well. Now, he is coming off a juicy matchup where he just seemed like he can have his way versus this Miami Dolphins defense. He had a huge carry for 43 yards, plus had another one that was 50+ yards as well. And again, with Chuba Hubbard still questionable for week 6, Rico Dowdle still becomes for me someone that you could be stashing. And with the matchup being quite juicy versus the Dallas Cowboys, I believe that Rico Dowdle is a must-add in the waiver wire this week going into week 6. Hey, we have a few more players to go over, but before we do so, most of you that are watching this video right now aren't already subscribed, so do me a solid. If you are getting value in this video, hit the like button as well as the subscribe button. Let's go over these last 2 players. This next player they're going to be adding is going to be Kendrick Bourne, wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, currently he's only rostered in 6.5% of ESPN leagues, so he's more than likely going to be available for you to add. And he is coming off a big performance on Thursday night where he had 10 receptions on 12 targets, over 140 yards. And quite frankly, a lot of it is also circumstantial, considering that he was filling in for a very depleted wide receiver room that didn't have Ricky Pearsall, that didn't have Juwan Jennings, didn't have George Kittle, and of course has not had Brandon Ayuk. And of course, all that could change, because what we're seeing right now is that Ricky Pearsall could be available for that Week 6 matchup versus the Buccaneers, and George Kittle as well more than likely won't be available till Week 7, but we have been seeing reports that there have been no setbacks in his recovery time, and quite frankly, Juwan Jennings could also be back as well, and that could very much push Kendrick Bourne to that wide receiver 4 slot within this offense. But if any of these guys are hurt, we already know that he has a strong chemistry with Mac Jones, who came up also a very strong performance in Week 5. And Kendrick Bourne, for me, is someone that you should be adding as well as a stash, especially considering that this offense within San Francisco has been very depleted because of the many injuries that it has had with its pass catchers. And this next player that you're going to be adding is going to be tight end AJ Barner for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I've been a big fan of this sophomore tight end, and quite frankly, we're seeing the breakout slowly happening for him. He had a career game where he had 7 receptions on 7 targets, 53 yards, had also 2 touchdowns, and he's had a very healthy snap count. When you just look at these stats over here, been very consistent as far as getting a lot of work. He actually leads the Seahawks in all pass catchers with 239 total snaps, and quite frankly, he's coming off a game where he saw career highs in receptions, yard, and touchdowns. And for me, he should be a priority add. I mean, I was able to add him 2 weeks ago in a dynasty league, and he could very much still be available for you. And in redraft, someone that I believe is going to be the number 2 option for the Seattle Seahawks offense, who clearly is going to be behind wide receiver 1, Jackson Smith-Njigba. But we're seeing Barner getting more usage, and in terms of, I believe, will get more value for your fantasy rosters rest of season for you as well. Here are a few rapid fire ads as well. Darren Waller from the Miami Dolphins, still only rostered in 49.8% of ESPN leagues. Came off a game where he had 5 receptions, 5 targets, 78 yards, had 1 touchdown. With Tyreek Hill gone, you can see that Darren Waller is getting that usage that is becoming a safety net for Tua Tagovailoa. He is a must add. And of course, a second tight end, Mason Taylor, someone that we've been really high on in this channel, coming off a game where he led the Jets in targets with 12 targets, saw 9 receptions, 67 yards. It was second in snaps behind Wilson and has led the team in targets for the first time this season. I believe that he has established himself as the clear second option in this pass offense for the Jets. So Mason Taylor for me is another must add for you on your fantasy rosters. Hey, you made it to the very end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. We are inching close to that 1,000 subscriber goal. So if you could do me a solid, if you got value in this video, hit the like button as well as the subscribe button, and be sure to comment any waiver wire ads that you think I missed or any advice that you may need. But in the meantime, best of luck to you as you look to add players to bolster up your rosters, and be sure to tune in later in the week where we go over some must starts as well as some must trades for you. But in the meantime, take care. God bless. Peace.